Oh, what the heck is this? Get out of the way. Hey, everybody, what's up? I have a little trouble getting online. I realized I was trying to hook up and whatever, and I was logged into the wrong YouTube account. I was logged into my personal one, and I'm like, why is nothing here? And it's because I was not on the church account, and now I'm in the right place. And look, here y'all are. So having some internet issues here tonight. How's everybody doing? What, 12? We got 12 people. Where is everybody? So there we go. There we go. All right, now we're up to 14. Hey, everybody. Sorry I was a little late, but I was having all kind of drama. So, all right, I'm going to give a couple of shout outs here tonight. Who we got in the house? Amy, of course, is our first comment. Hi, Amy. Matt Clements is here. I see Matt Clements is chilling at poolside waiting for Pastor Tim to destroy something. Matt, I am not going to disappoint. So, all right. Hey, Bob, glad to have you. Hi, Daryl. Yeah, today was a pretty good day. So, Mike and Tina, how you doing? Miriam, how are you? Hey, Suze. And, well, Stephanie Elsass is here. Hi, Steph. How are you? And glad to see you here tonight, too. So, good deal. We're down to 11. Did I chase all you guys off? What's going on here? Oh. All right. I have to mute my phone because my phone is now. All right. Hey, I want to ask you guys to pray for something for me. Every single one of my staff people is discouraged right now. I've had a conversation with all of them in the last 3 days. Phil and Leah are discouraged about, youth group numbers are way down, and Jess is having a hard time getting children's ministry off the ground. Daryl can't get the choir up and running. Diane and Angie are missing a lot of stuff out of the office because not much is happening there, because not much is happening really at all. Josh is, he's kind of struggling between being a dad and being the worship leader and things. Just a lot of downer. So just keep your staff in your prayers. Everybody's kind of discouraged right now just because of the state of what's going on. And I know the whole church, I think, is feeling it. Giving is down, and attendance is obviously way down. And it's the world we live in. And I just keep your staff in your prayers. You guys have a fantastic folks who work for you here at the church, and they're really discouraged right now. And I would just encourage you all to keep them in your prayers, because we live in a discouraging. We work in a discouraging profession sometimes, and it just breaks my heart to see their chins down. So if you keep them in your prayers, I would appreciate it. All right. Well, given the fact that the last couple of weeks have been a little heavy, I was in the hospital, and then I was, trying to get out of the hospital and kind of get back. And then, some other stuff going on in the world. And we got the election and the riots and COVID and all this stuff. So tonight I said, hey, we're going to go with a lighter show tonight. I'm going to do a lighter topic with Genesis chapter 1. We're just going to take a look at the creation story and just remember that God didn't create this world to be a mess. And that was never the intention. And so we're going to look at God's creation of the world. Also, as a lighter topic and as a pet project, I want to take a look at the new Batman trailer. If you have seen the new Batman trailer, I would like for you to get in the comments and tell me you've seen it. And I'm going to give my comments on it and talk a little bit about my thoughts about it, just because I just want to do something. I don't want to do something heavy tonight because I'm not in the mood. So we're going to talk about that. And then I'm going to destroy something that I find to be very, very annoying. This court case that's been going against Lori Loughlin. What a train wreck. So I have a few things I would like to just completely destroy on that tonight, and that will be in the Tim Destroy section, which is always our grand finale. So, all right, hey, Valerie McAllister's here. Hi, Val. Allie's looking good. She's still hobbling around a little bit after her knee surgery. She was telling me a little bit about it tonight. I didn't realize how involved it was what she had done. So goodness gracious. But glad to see she and Sean both at youth group tonight, and Tina and Mike saw it tonight. So I just wonder if anyone else here has seen it. So I'm just going to give a few comments about it to the few of you who are here. So, all right, well, let's begin with Genesis chapter 1. Genesis chapter 1 is, I mean, no big surprise, is the creation story. It's actually the first of two creation stories we have in the first opening chapters of Genesis. This is certainly the most famous one. And yeah, Val, I'm sure. And yeah, it was good to see Sean tonight. Yeah, and so what I want to show is that the way that this first account of creation is recorded, it shows very, very clearly, I think, this is the argument I'm going to make, and then you guys can get on and fight with me if you want. But to me, it shows very, very clearly that God was trying to set up a system. And whenever you set up a system, there has to be intention behind it. And for there to be intention behind it, you have to have a goal. You have to have something you want to see happen. And I firmly believe that God created this world with a desired outcome. He had something he wanted to see happen. And hey, Crystal, welcome. Good to see you. And hey, Doug and Margie, good to see you guys here. Glad to have you come out. And I'm trying to think, Margie. I forgot. Hold on. Margie. All right, everybody. I have a trivia question for you, and this is from Margie Whitling. So if you don't like this joke, you all can get on there and flame on Margie for a while. This is my question, and unless your last name is Whitling, you're allowed to get in the comments and answer. Ready? Where did Captain Hook buy his hook? Get in the comments and tell me if you know where Captain Hook bought his hook. Answer coming after Genesis, and we'll see if anybody that does not have the last name of Whitling can answer that question. So, all right, so God is setting up a system, and when you set up a system, you have a desired outcome, just like any system we would set up. You know, like here at church, we have a number of systems. We have a discipleship system, you know, where we have at least we used to have a series of small groups of Sunday school classes, and we have Sunday morning sermons. We have, devotionals, we have studies, books, recommendations, groups, all these things. And we set these systems up, and they're kind of a loosely aligned group of a system. But the reason it exists is because we have something we want to see happen. We want to see people grow closer to Jesus. That's kind of the whole point. And so you think about other systems we have. We have a stewardship campaign, which is going to be kicking off here soon to secure giving for the next year, and something we're really going to have to look at here in the upcoming future. So, and all of you work or have worked at jobs where there's a system, I think of Susan working at Honda. I mean, Honda has a very clear system. They want to take these resources and turn them into cars. And there is a very, very intricate system that goes into doing that. You know, you got certain people making certain parts, and you got to ship parts from where they are to where they need to be so they can make the next step in the process. And a very, very complicated system. They got almost as many people, keeping an eye on the system as they have people actually working the system. That's how delicate the system is. But whenever you create a system, you've always got, you have a desired outcome. You have something you want to see happen. You have, you want everybody to have a part in it, and you want everybody to have a role in it. And that's what you do when you're creating a system. I am contending, and y'all can get in here and fight with me about this, because y'all know I like it when you do that, is that God was creating a system in this world. And the reason that you want to create a system is because, you have something you want to see happen. And the reason I'm going to put this in there is we see very clearly in I'm going to call it the 6 days of creation, because the day of rest is, we're not going to talk about that because that's kind of its own thing. But in the system, in the 6 days that God was working, we see two clear sets of three. So what I'm going to contend is God, came into the earth, Everything was a mess. It was complete chaos. Everything was running out of control. It was just a mess. And God said, in order for this to be a productive place where life can happen, we're going to need some organization. So God took the first 3 days of creation and did 3 things, which we're going to look at here in a second. Then he goes, days 4, 5, and 6, he worked on the very same thing that he did in days 1, 2, and 3. So he began the system, then he went through and fine-tuned the system to get it right. Because if you've ever tried to set up a system of any kind, you know for certain it never works right the first time, or it's never completed on your first attempt. That's even true for God, as I'm going to show you here in a second. So you try something and you run through it, and then you go back and fine-tune it. So that's where we are. So let's, if you want to open your Bibles, I'd love to have you do this with me. We're going to Genesis chapter 1. So you can jump on, that's an easy one. That's probably the easiest chapter in the whole Bible to find. It's the very first one. So it's Genesis chapter 1 is what we're going to look at tonight for the study portion of the show tonight. So, all right. So what did God start with? Well, God started with this. Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. Probably one of the most important phrases in the Bible. In the beginning, God. Okay? So whatever there was at the start, God was before that. And if we were going to go look at Revelation, we're going to find that whatever is the end, God is after that. So that's the very first thing we learn. In the beginning, God, that's it. That's all there was. So in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Okay, so God was there, looking around, thinking, this place has real potential. So let's start building. The earth was formless in verse 2. The earth was formless and empty, and darkness covered the deep waters. So it was chaos. It was like a never-ending hurricane, dark water flowing out of control. It was all a complete mess. Everything was going. So all right. So in the middle of this chaos enters God. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the waters. So God's kind of there, taking a look around, seeing what he can see, trying to figure out what's going on. God said, okay, this place needs order. Because what do we have? We have formless, empty, darkness, and chaotic water. That's what God found. No form, no substance, no light, no land, no dry land. So everything was a mess. So God said, all right, if we're going to if life is going to happen here, we're going to need some order. And the first thing we're going to need is verse 3. Then God said, let there be light. And there was light. God saw the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness. So now light and darkness they're in opposition to each other. So there was darkness already there. The earth was dark and it was all messed up. And God said, okay, I'm going to create something. The first step in my system is going to be to address darkness. And what do we use to address darkness? Bam, light. So he separated light from darkness. So there was still darkness in the earth. It wasn't like God eradicated the darkness, but he gave it an word do I want here? Answer. I'm not sure what word I want, but there's now something that stands in opposition to darkness, and that is light. Okay. So God called the light day, the darkness he called night, and evening passed and morning came, marking the first day. That's a pretty good 1 day's worth of work, wouldn't y'all say? To create light. Interesting thing that I want to ask you. And there's no answer. This is one of those unanswerable questions. This is one of those, what came first, the chicken or the egg? This question I'm about to ask is a question like that. And that is, where did the light come from? Yes, I know God made it, so I'm not disputing that. But what was creating the light? Because as we're going to find out as we continue reading, there's no sun, moon, or stars yet. I don't know what it was. But you know what? When God says, let there be something, something happens. And something happened here, and it was light. I'm a highly trained professional YouTuber there. I'm just going to sneeze online because that's awesome. All right, so light now happens. So, all right. So there's evening and there's morning. All right. Day 2. Then God said, "Let there be a space between the waters to separate the waters of the heaven from the waters of the earth." And that's what happened. God made this space to separate the waters of the earth from the waters of the heavens. And God created the space sky. Or God called the space sky, and evening passed and morning came, marking the second day. Okay. So what did God create? Okay, so the first thing that God addressed was the place is kind of dark, so God turned on the light. Second place, he says, all there is here is water. We need some space. Basically, we're talking about air. So God kind of pushed water up, pushed water down, and created space in the middle. Now, I want to be very clear. There's nothing in this space yet, but the space has been created. The water has been pushed apart. Water in the sky, which we know, I mean, that's what's in the sky. It's what our atmosphere is created from, is water. And so there was space created. So God lit it up, and now God made order, because he's saying water is here, water is there, there is no water here. And God took control of the water. So the water, which was chaos, which was like a stormy sea, just this crazy existence, now has some order. Now there's a place where there is no water. And so space was created. Okay. That's day 2. So now we got light. We have a little bit of boundary set for the water, which knew no boundaries before. Now we have boundaries for the water. Okay. Day 3, verse 9. Then God said, let the waters, I'm sorry, I think I messed this up here. Marking the second. Oh, no. Then God said, okay, day 3. Let the water beneath the sky flow together into one place so dry ground may appear. And that's what happened. God called the dry ground land and the water seas. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, let the land sprout with vegetation, every sort of seed-bearing plant, trees that grow seed-bearing fruit. And these seeds will then produce the kinds of plants and trees from which they came. And that's what happened. The land produced vegetation, all sorts of seed-bearing plants and trees with seed-bearing fruit. And the seed produced plants and trees of the same kind, which basically means you don't take an apple tree and plant an apple tree and it grows a plum tree. That doesn't work that way. And God saw that it was good. And evening passed and morning came, marking the third day. So now what happened? Okay, so what happened in the second day is God said, water, here's your boundaries. Boundaries up there, boundaries down there. You got to stay. Now God said, okay, of what's on the ground, okay, looking at the water that went down, I need you to observe this boundary that we would know as the shore. Push it back so that the dry ground came up. Now, again, that didn't exist before. The water was engulfing everything. So the water is now being put under control. So God addressed the darkness. God addressed the boundaries of the water to create space in the middle. And now God is kind of pushing that boundary even further, so the water has to stay where God puts it. God says, water, you're going to be there, and that's where the water is. And that's what creates the shoreline, create the ocean, create the seas and all these things, so that there's dry ground. Okay? So that's sort of the order that God works in. God addressed darkness, God addressed boundaries, God addressed dry land. Okay? And now by pulling the dry land out from the water and creating boundaries for the water that we know as the shore, that allowed vegetation to happen. So plants began to grow and seed-bearing trees or fruit and trees and all these things began to grow because now there was space. So what God was doing was he was giving life space to happen. Now, you know darn well, and we know today, that vegetation does not grow well without sunshine. Vegetation does not grow well if it doesn't get the proper amount of water, which means water when it needs it and no water when it doesn't need it. So by God taking this thing and making order happen, by putting the system in order, life began to happen because of the order, because of the system that God was creating. Okay? So darkness, space, boundaries. Let's go on to day 4. Then God said, let the lights appear in the sky to separate day from the night. Let them be signs to mark the seasons, days, and years. Let these lights in the sky shine down on the earth. And that's what happened. God made two great lights, the larger one to govern the day and the smaller one to govern the night. He also made the stars. God made these lights of the sky to light the earth, to govern the day and the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And their evening passed and morning came, marking the fourth day. Do you see how day 4 relates to day 1? Do you see the relationship? God created light from someplace on day 1. Then he created the sun, moon, and stars on day 4. You see how those two go together? So God said, okay, now I kind of got this water thing under control. Now I'm going to go back through this. I'm going to work the same system to see, what more we can do. And this created what we would know as today as astronomy, I guess, the sun, moon, and stars. And so he's taking God's fine tuning the system, but by working with the same process he had before. So sun, moon, and stars came on day 4. Okay, now remember then on day, well, let's go on. Verse 20 is going to be day 5. Then God said, let the water swarm with fish and other life. Let the skies be filled with birds of every kind. So God created the great sea creatures and every living thing that scurries and swarms in the water, and every sort of bird, producing offspring of the same kind. And then God saw that it was good. And then God blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply. Let the fish fill the seas, let the birds multiply on the earth. And evening passed and morning came, marking the 5th day. Now, remember what happened on day 2. On day 2, God said, water goes up, water goes down, creating space in the middle for this amazing thing called life to happen. That's the system God was creating. Notice now on day 5, where does life start to happen? The specific animals that are created on day 5 are what? Sea creatures and birds. Now, where do sea creatures and birds live? Birds fly through the air. Sea creatures live in the water on the ground. So what God worked with on day 2, God also works with on day 5. Again, keeping the process consistent and how they relate together. So in this boundary that was set for the waters, life began to happen there as well. Even in the midst of the chaotic water and this craziness that's going on, life began to spring up in the air and in the sea. Are y'all following this? Is there anybody even listening to me anymore? Somebody get on and write something in the comments so I know that I'm actually still online and you guys aren't desperately trying to call me to say I get kicked off. Somebody write a comment so I know I'm still online because I haven't heard from anybody in a while. And tell me where Captain Hook bought his hook. I only got 2 answers there, both of them very creative, but very incorrect. All right, Mike and Tina are there. Cool. All right, so, okay, good. I was glad because nobody said anything for a while. I was worried I was talking to myself. So, all right, so now answer me this question. Do you see the relationship I'm talking about? How day 1 relates to day 4 and day 2 relates to day 5? Do you see the system? Tell me if you see the system. Hook and ladder store. Excellent guess, but not correct. All right. Okay. All right, well, let me show you how day 6 relates to day 3. Then God said, let the earth produce every sort of animal, each producing offspring of the same kind, livestock and small animals that scurry along the ground and wild animals. And that's what happened. God made all sorts of wild animals, livestock, and small animals, each able to produce offspring of the same kind. And God saw that it was good. Okay, so I'm going to stop. I'm going to continue reading. We'll stop right there just for a second. Why didn't God do it in one day, Matt? The reason God did not do it in one day is because he wanted the system to work. And I'm telling you, if you ever put a system together, Beverly Boyd, is that Beverly Boyd, Forest Park? Bev, I'm glad you're here. If I got the right person, I may have the wrong person, but I think that's who it is. So, anyways, sorry, I lost my train of thought with that one. I got to come back and get it. I've lost the thought where that one was going. Sorry. But see how this works is that on the 3rd day, God pushed the shoreline, created the shoreline, I guess you could say, by pushing the water back and created land. And then on day 6, God created land animals. It says there, wild animals and animals that scurry along the ground and wild animals and so on and so forth. Oh, there it is. Matt Clements, I was answering your question. The reason that God didn't do this in one day was because if you've ever put a system together before, the one thing you cannot do that never works, and I am giving you proof it don't even work for God, is to try to crash course a system. System takes time to fine tune. It takes time to make work. It takes time to work the bugs out of it. It takes time to make sure all the pieces are where they belong. Even God had to do that. And if he would have just Shazammed the whole system and made the whole thing happen in one day, it may not have been as effective as what it is now. Because you have to admit the system that God put together is pretty darned amazing. I mean, it's been creating life since literally the beginning of time. So God put together a very effective system that works very, very well. And it does that because it took time. It took time to make it, even for God, even for the Almighty, it took time for that to happen. And well, Bev, thank you very much. It's so awesome that you're here. And tell everybody at Forest Park I said hello. And that's great. And oh my word, I didn't know you were here, Bev. You should have told me you were in. And I do have to say that we're going to have to close the Captain Hook question because somebody got the right answer. Miriam got the right answer. Captain Hook bought his hook at the secondhand store. All right. Yeah, I got that off a candy wrapper. So I would like to thank Margie Whitling for sending that to me. That's the kind of awesome and very profound text messages that I receive on a nearly daily basis from lots of people. So awesome. All right. So now that the whole system is done, I mean, the whole system has been created. We got light, we got order, we got shorelines, we've got all these things that we're going to need in order for life to happen. Now that all that stuff has been done, God says, now it's time for the grand finale. And y'all know what that is. Here's the grand finale. And notice, obviously he's going to create people, spoiler alert, but you'll notice in these people that he created, there's a few things that we're told that we're not told about anything else. Verse 27. So God created human beings in his own image. No other created thing, be it the astronomy, be it the water, be it the animals, be it whatever, nothing got that designation. Nothing was created in God's image. And that, I got to tell you, is one of the most mysterious phrases in the Bible, because what the heck does it mean? And again, you can interpret that a lot of different ways. Does that mean that God, looks like this? I mean, better than this face, but looks, with eyes and nose and mouth? Maybe. I don't know. But whatever that is, whatever it means to have been created in God's image, does that mean we have a capacity for thinking? Does that mean we have a capacity for compassion and for greatness more than the rest of? I don't know what it means. But and you're right, Matt, not a monkey. We are not accidents, and I'm gonna do a partial destroy on evolution here in just a second. But and God was giving us an example how to work a system, absolutely. Because, buddy, you try to rush a system and it fails every time. I mean, you get very few guarantees in life, more guaranteed than that one. So we humans were created in God's image. So whatever that means, we have been specially blessed by God to be in his image. And I'm telling you what, that is an honor. And friends, for the 23 of you who are logged in right now, I want you to know that means you. That means you. That means the junkie. That means the homeless guy. That means the person struggling. That means people who break the law. That means people who are in prison. It means people who hurt people. All are created in God's image. Been given special dispensation for greatness. Doesn't necessarily mean everybody realizes it, obviously, but we have the potential for greatness in our very DNA, because we have been given something that nothing else on this planet has, and that is God's image. Again, whatever you can interpret that whatever way you want, but whatever that means, we have been specially blessed by design, put in a system that God went through twice to make sure he got it right. Make sure we have the light, make sure we have the boundaries, make sure we have the shoreline, make sure we have all these things, that the system is there so that we can flourish in it. That's what we were created to do. is to flourish, not to destroy ourselves with bad habits and drugs and alcohol and whatever else. That's not what we were put here to do. We were created, that God put this magnificent system together. He created us specially, designed us, put our parts together so that we would have in our very DNA God's image, the potential for greatness, not automatic greatness, but the potential, the opportunity is there for us to take it, to make the most of our creation and to make the most of God's creation, which we're part of, to go forward with this special designation of having God's image in our very selves. What a beautiful image. Again, it's mysterious because I don't know what that means, but that phrase was not said about anything else. And that's pretty amazing to think about it. Give me a what up in the comments if you think that's pretty amazing to think about being created in God's image. Jump in the comments and give me a what up. Come on, Matt Clements, give me a what up. Mr. Not Created from a Monkey. And honestly, this is my big critique of evolution. Is look, did we evolve from monkeys? Whatever. My problem with the theory of evolution is that the whole thing was an accident. We're just lucky globs of genetic goo, and that's all we are. We're part of the primordial ooze. I'm sorry, I ain't buying that. I am not buying that. There is no accident. Of the 24 of you who are here in this chat room right now, there are no accidents here. We were designed by a creator on purpose for a purpose. All right, and don't ever doubt that, because look, if we're just lucky things of evolution, if that's all we are, it's just a happy accident. If that's all we are, then what difference does it make what we do? What's the big deal about things like abortion and this kind of stuff? And well, it doesn't matter if I want to shoot up or get drunk or go hurt somebody or be selfish. What difference does it make? All I am is a lucky glob of genetic goo. That's all I am. If I'm an accident, and anything I manage to do or to gain or to take, it makes no difference, because there's nothing about me that is particularly special. And I could not possibly disagree with that anymore, because the system, God, there's no moral compass. It's exactly right, Matt Clemens. If we're an accident, what's the point of morals? I might as well do what I want. Because it doesn't matter, because I'm just an accident anyways, and I'm just an accident waiting to happen. I don't buy that. I can't argue the science of creation. I'm not smart enough for that. The people way smarter than me can do that. My whole problem with it is the accidental nature of it. I do not believe I am an accident. I do not believe my family is an accident. I do not believe anybody who attends Wayne Street is an accident. I don't believe that there is. I don't think that there are accidents in that kind of way. We exist because we were created, designed, knitted together. You want to know how that works? Go read Psalm 139. Psalm 139, one of the most beautiful Psalms in the whole Bible, talks about how we were created and God knit us together in our mother's womb. It's just incredible. And we are not an accident. We exist for a purpose. And every life has great potential. You're right, Bev. How God created us is miraculous. And Val, you keep reminding yourself of that. Don't you forget it. And Scott says you don't get life from non-life. You don't, unless God does it. There has to be, again, and I said this at the outset, and I'm maintaining it now, there has to be intention. You have to get intention from it. Because if there's no intention, meaning there's no plan, there's no design, there's no system, then what difference does it make? But in order for life to be formed out of the dust, there has to be a creator. There has to be a creator. That does not, because if it happened on its own, it would happen again at least once. We would at least, got up one morning and there'd be some man in our backyard that wasn't there before. And we're like, wow, did you come out of the ground? Well, that's kind of cool. I mean, it had to happen once and it's never happened. So I can't believe the accidental nature of evolution. The science of it, whatever. I'm not smart enough to argue that. I just cannot believe, though, that we are not designed on purpose. So thanks, Matt. I will preach it. I'm going to get fired up here in a minute. Thanks, Steph. Yes. What up? Give me that what up. I love it. So That's my big thing. I don't know any of the science behind this. Genesis 1, one of the most beautiful passages in the Bible. I know I say that every week, but I always mean it. I can't argue the science of creationism. I'm not smart enough for that. But what I see in Genesis 1 is an intention. I see a plan. I see a creator with a capital C. And I want you all to see that too. I want you to see the method to the madness, how God turned on the light, how God set boundaries for the water, how God created the shoreline, how God then, created the sun, moon, and stars, and how the waters began to swarm with life. And then the waters, meaning the waters up and waters down, birds and fish. And then how the land began to produce life. And everything was cool and it was beautiful. And then when God said, yes, it's just right. Now we're going to create people and put them in there. And there's one more phrase in here that I want to read, and then we'll move on. So I'm in Genesis 1:27. So God created human beings in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. God blessed them and said, be fruitful and multiply, fill it and govern the earth. Reign over the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, and the animals that scurry along the ground. God saying, remember that system I put together? I want you to be the caretaker of it. I want you to be responsible for it. And again, that's not a burden. That's a blessing to be given something so beautiful as this creation. Expects us to take care of it. Yes. Should we recycle? Yes. Should we, find clean energy? Yes. Do I think we should destroy, energy and things, take down gas companies? No, I don't believe any of that. But I do believe that we have a responsibility to care for people, but we also have a responsibility to care for the environment. I don't. When we have to, when those two things come into opposition to each other, we should always choose people. People come first. But, we do have a responsibility to the environment as best we can. So, okay, so verse 29. Then God said, I want you all to get this verse because I'm going to rip on all of you about this. Verse 29. Then God said, look, I have given you every seed-bearing plant throughout the earth and all its fruit trees for food. And I've given you every green plant for food. Let me start over. Verse 29. Then God said, look, I have given you every seed-bearing plant throughout the earth and all the fruit trees for your food. And I have given every green plant as food for all the wild animals and the birds of the sky and the small animals that scurry along the ground, everything that has life. And that's what happened. Y'all notice the first people were vegetarian? That's right. Give me a what up if you didn't know that. If you didn't realize that vegetarians are the best. I need a what up. Come on. You guys got to do that for me. Because vegetarians, that was our original design. So, yeah, Steph, I'm still here. Can you hear me? Somebody respond to Steph because I had to unplug my keyboard in order to go online. So somebody tell Steph that I'm still here. So, that's right. Let's give some vegetarian love here tonight. All right. Okay, so, all right. Now, here's what I want you to see. This is the important thing. Verse 31. Then God looked over all he had made. He looked all over this glorious system that he had put together. He examined the whole thing, looked at it all together, and he saw it was very good. It was never very good before. It was good, but wasn't very good until the caretakers were put in place. That's us. That changed the whole thing. It was good before, but then it was very good once we were here. So, and then God looked over all he had made, saw that it was very good, and evening passed, morning came, marking the sixth day. My sisters and brothers in Christ, who were created by God, designed on purpose for a purpose. I want you all to know that God was real happy with his creation, and he was just so happy to put you in to be a part of it. So much so that everything he was doing with the sky and the sun and all this stuff, my internet connection messed up here, Crystal. Okay. So somebody text Stephanie, tell her to log back in, and she should be okay. But God took this whole system, put the whole thing together, and then put us in it. And he was so happy to give that gift to us and to allow us the experience of being in creation, to eat those seed-bearing fruit and have all this stuff. He was so excited for us to have that and be a part of it. And that's what happened. It's a beautiful system God set up. So, all right, I have 2 questions for you. I have 2 things left to do, and I have 18 minutes with which to do them. I'm going to destroy the Lori Loughlin court case because I'm annoyed by it, and I'm going to give my thoughts on the new Batman trailer that came out. I need to know, question 1 is, which one do you want to do first? Lori or Batman? Put it in the comments. Which one you want first? And second, I want to know if you learned something about Genesis 1 tonight. You ever heard any of this before? This is not really a sermon. It's more of it's a Bible study topic. It's not, I mean, this would be hard to tackle on a Sunday morning, but in this kind of format, it kind of works. So I want to know, you want Lori or you want Batman? And then do you want, or I want to know if you learned something about Genesis 1. Get in the comments. Go. Okay, getting a lot of votes for Lori. Cool. Tell me, not only tell me if you learned something about Genesis, tell me, do you know anything about the Lori Loughlin case? I'm very curious if we have, if you're familiar with that or heard anything about it. All right, we have a nearly unanimous decision here. All right, well, I'm going to continue on. Okay, cool. I'm glad that you guys learned something. Jump in there and say something about Genesis. Let me know. I'm going to briefly run down the Lori Loughlin case, and I may need to switch back and forth here a minute. Yeah, she's in a lot of trouble for a really dumb reason. Okay. Lori Loughlin and her husband, Mossimo Giannuli, I probably did not pronounce that right. They have 2 daughters. And what they did is they were a part of a what am I trying to say here? A scheme. I don't know. They were working with a man who somehow had figured out a way to get college scholarships for students, which, I mean, on the face value, that seems like okay. But what happened is this is the part I just don't get. He was setting it up so that you could make donations to the college, and the college then would turn around and give them athletic scholarships. So Lori Loughlin and her husband's name, which I'm still struggling with, Mossimo Giannuli, their daughters got college scholarships for rowing when they had never been on a rowing team in their life and had never rowed before. And they took pictures with, canoe oars and canoe. What do you row with? I don't even know. But the boats you use for rowing, and they got rowing scholarships. And they paid like $500,000 to get their daughters into USC on these college scholarships for sports they never participated in. Here's my problem with this. Was that fraud? Was it illegal? Yes. I mean, obviously, you should not be misrepresenting yourself. I'm totally in with that. My problem is, though, who was in the wrong here? I mean, should they have misrepresented what their kids were doing? No, they should not have done that. But don't you think somebody at USC should have checked on that? I'm trying to figure out how in the world the college is not the one in trouble here. I don't understand why so much was put into trying to prosecute these 2 people. And I know there were other people Pete Carroll does know a lot about that. I'm trying to figure out how in the heck they went after these 2 people for doing this, when it seems like USC should have said, hey, how good are your daughters at rowing? I mean, somebody should have asked that along the way. I mean, I went to college and I had to fill out like 10,000 things of paper to get in. And I'm trying to figure out how in the midst of this, nobody at USC caught this, and how nobody at USC is in trouble. Yeah, I understand the college didn't care, but I want to know why were they criminally prosecuted? Now, if USC found out that they did this and then wanted to sue them in civil court, I could see that. I want to know why this was a criminal case and why the criminal case wasn't against USC instead of against this couple. And again, they were not the only ones that were caught up in this. And I'm very frustrated that we're in the situation we're in, where so much is happening, and we're going after this family who, yes, did something they should not have done. You should not misrepresent who you are. Okay, so I'm totally in with that. But why is that a criminal case? That seems like it's USC's problem. Again, if USC wanted to sue them for the lies that they told, I could see that. I don't understand why they're criminally prosecuted. The husband, again, I'm not going to try to say his name again, got 5 months in jail and a $500,000 fine and community service. And Lori Loughlin she's going to be in jail for 2 months and all this stuff. And to me, this is ridiculous because this is USC's fault. If yes, I of course I loved Aunt Becky. Who didn't love Aunt Becky, right? From Full House. But they have destroyed this woman's life. I mean, she got kicked off all the Hallmark Channel stuff that I would never watch and never have watched and will never watch. But I feel like they disrupted her whole life. When you cannot tell me, you cannot make me believe that there aren't a ton of politicians out there doing the same dang thing with their kids. I just will not believe it. And this just seems like malicious prosecution because, is anybody safer with these people in jail? Is anything changed? The two daughters are kicked out of college and their lives are ruined. Lori Loughlin will never be able to be on Hallmark Channel again, and she's going to die off of Fuller House and all this stuff. Again, I never watched any of that stuff, so I don't care. My frustration here is that, do you have any idea how much it costs to prosecute these people? For what? For what USC didn't catch when they should have? In a world where we, have governors of cities praising people who are burning down government buildings in their towns, I feel like, putting fraud against USC is kind of a nothing burger to me. And why we have went so far out to go after somebody. Yeah, both sides are at fault, but how is USC not being held accountable? Because I guess the problem here is that there must be some federal money involved in these scholarships. But again, why in the heck are we spending federal money for kids to go row in college? I mean, is rowing sell tickets? Does it? I mean, what in the world? This whole thing aggravates me. Again, if it was USC suing them because they caught them in fraud, I could understand that. I do not understand why this is a criminal prosecution, and I don't understand what we're trying to prove here. Because are we going to go back now and revoke the scholarships of other politicians' kids who got in, or other movie stars' kids who got in? Because look, the Loughlins were not the first one to do this. And I'm just very aggravated that so much went into this for something that USC should have caught. USC was raking in the money, $500,000 and all this stuff. And for what? Somebody has to be the fall guy, especially a star, Sean. I agree with that. But again, a fall guy for what? I mean, is this something any of us are going to do? Sean, are you going to, defraud to get your daughters? You got one of them now that can't even walk. You're going to get her in cross country in college. I don't know what we're supposed to take from this. Society is no safer. I mean, these people were not a threat in any way you can say that. You're going to make an example out of them. An example to who? Your average Joe person wouldn't have enough money to pull this off. And I'm just very frustrated that so much tax dollars went into just basically persecuting these people, not prosecuting, persecuting. I choose that word intentionally because I'm very frustrated that we did this. Again, if USC wants to sue them, I got no problem with that because what they did was wrong. But I agree. But if you would do nothing about it, what does that do? It tells USC to get your act together. That's what it does. This is the college's fault for letting this happen. The college is the one that should have been prosecuted. Whoever was supposed to be watching who's on the rowing team, they're the person responsible to make sure that the rowing, the kids know how to swim that are on the rowing team. I think that's their problem. And I don't know that there's a criminal interest here. I don't believe that. If you're going to say, well, what about another kid who was going to get in? She got in based on rowing, not on brains. So I don't know what the criminal interest here is. Are they in cahoots? Maybe, but did they sell out? Did they sell out these couples to save their own skin? Well, if so, then why are we prosecuting? USC hasn't learned from their past, nor do they care. I will give you that one. OSU football gave scholarships for people with failing grades. Yes, that's right. The criminal interest is bribery. Yes, that may be the case. But why aren't we again, Tina, Mike, I agree with that. But why aren't we prosecuting the recipient of the bribe instead of just the giver of the bribe? Giver of the bride. Listen to me. But why isn't USC being prosecuted? I think they should be in at least as much trouble as the Loughlins were, if not more, because they were absolutely complicit in what happened here. And I don't know. I don't understand what we've accomplished here. In this criminal prosecution, this is a civil problem. It's a civil problem between USC and fraud in their scholarship giving capabilities and nothing more. So I think the sentence was overkill by a long way. I think that this prosecution was nothing but a bunch of prosecutors making names for themselves. And in an era when the police, I think, are getting enough bad press right now, whether they deserve it or not. We can debate that. I don't think they do. But even in the midst of that, you've got now these prosecutors prosecuting people for crimes with no victim. I don't know. I feel like USC should have had something in this too. So, all right, how many of you have I convinced in my destruction of this? Was my destruction? Was it effective? That's right, Sean. Perfect TV role. She can go and play her own role. Yeah, somebody was saying she's going from the Fuller house to the big house. I don't know. The whole thing is dumb, but the whole world is dumb right now. So who knows? So, all right, that's my destruction for the night. I got 5 minutes left. With your permission, can I give you my thoughts on the Batman trailer? Oh, Val, I know. I thought it was a joke too. Yeah, thanks, Miriam. Yeah, they made an example of her, which again, I do not agree with this. Sean, yeah, USC needs skin in the game. I agree, because I think they were just as culpable here as the Loughlins were. And in fact, I think they were more so. I'm sorry. I think they were more so. I think that I think USC is more at fault here because they're the ones that getting rich off of this. Yeah, I think USC, I think they're more culpable than the people who are paying the bribes. Because the argument was for a while that the Loughlins didn't even realize what they were doing was illegal. I think that's a stretch. But I don't know. This seems very malicious to me. And I'm all for prosecuting criminals, but I have seen in my time, I've seen a lot of people who did things that were wrong that just the legal system just destroyed them. And I don't know that Lori Loughlin deserves not to ever be able to work again. I think that's wrong. Not on this. So, all right, 4 minutes. Batman it is. I've watched the trailer approximately 94 times, give or take a couple of times. And yeah, the guy they dealt with was charged, and I think what he did is he turned on everybody. He turned state's evidence to save his own skin. So he's a real winner. All right, my thoughts on the Batman trailer. I will say that my initial hearing that Robert Pattinson was playing Batman made me a little concerned. I was hoping they were going to feed him a whole bunch of sandwiches because he is way too skinny to play Batman. I watched the trailer. Robert Pattinson's a good actor. Okay, I'm going to give you that. And please don't judge the man from the Twilight crap because those movies were horrible. I didn't even watch any of them. I just know they're horrible because vampires sparkle. I don't even need to know anything more than that to know they're horrible. So, I wasn't real sure about that, but I knew he was a good actor, and I knew that he would be able to pull it off as far as the acting of it. But I gotta say, in the trailer, he looked pretty convincing. This is like a Batman origin story, and it sounds to me like they're going with the plot sort of from the video game Arkham Origins, which is also a story set early in Batman. It's a video game, but the story is set early in Batman's career where there's a bunch of supervillains trying to kill him, which, I mean, that's what Batman calls Tuesday. But anyways, so in this, the Riddler seems to be the main villain, at least the main villain of the first trailer, but it's also going to have the Penguin, who is shoot, I forgot the guy's name. He played Bullseye in Daredevil. I had his name and I forgot. Anyways, he's playing Penguin. If somebody remembers his name, tell me what it was. He's playing Penguin. Doesn't look anything like himself. Whatever they did to him, he looks. I didn't know it was him until I went and looked back because he did not look like himself. And then they got Zoe Kravitz is playing Catwoman, and then they have another man who's playing Commissioner Gordon. Colin Farrell. Thank you, Tina. That's who's playing Penguin. I'm a little not thrilled with the fact that they have race bent a couple of characters. Catwoman is played by Zoe Kravitz, who is African American, and then the man playing Commissioner Gordon, whose name I do not know, he's also an African American. And I know that Catwoman was portrayed by Halle Berry, who's obviously an African American as well. So that's kind of has a precedent, even though that movie was absolutely crap. I'm not a fan of race bending characters. I mean, if they came out with a movie of a Blade, which is Marvel's vampire hunter, and made him not African American, I mean, I would not be in favor of that either. So Commissioner Gordon has always been a Caucasian person, and I prefer Catwoman that way as well. So I'm not real happy with the race bent stuff, just because that's not what the character has historically been. But that's the world we live in now. But I did like the way the trailer looked. It's going to focus more on Batman as a detective rather than Batman as an action hero, which I think is an interesting take because Batman's always been about, he's called the world's greatest detective. And so he'll be solving crimes and kind of looking for things. One of the people with the person in the very beginning, if you've seen the trailer, he has his head in a bag. Looks like a victim of Hush, which they haven't said anything about him being in it. That's a villain. They haven't said anything about him being in the movie. So I think it'd be very interesting if that's because that's what he looks like. That's what his victims look like with the face wrapped up. That would be a very interesting take on it. But I will say, if you've watched the trailer, in the last 10 seconds, he beats up a thug. That was pretty epic when he beat that guy up. Man, that was intense. And that's kind of, I mean, that's Batman. That's intimidating. It's frightening. It's tough. And if any of you have seen that trailer when he beats that thug up there at the last moment, y'all know you got somebody in your life you'd like to do that to. Don't lie to me. I know that you do. And so we all can watch that trailer and live vicariously through Batman, which I tend to always do anyways. But I thought all in all it was a very good trailer. The tone of the movie is interesting. Again, it looks like it's going to focus a little less on the action. I just hope that Robert Pattinson can pull off Bruce Wayne. He's following Ben Affleck. And again, Batman versus Superman had its problems. Justice League, at least the version we have currently, is terrible. But Ben Affleck was great as Batman, and he was almost greater as Bruce Wayne because he looked so much like him. So now to have a guy half Ben Affleck size trying to pull that off, that's going to be a little interesting. So all in all, I thought it was a good trailer. I'm way excited about it. I've already looked on eBay trying to find the Batman T-shirt, and they don't have any out yet. But as soon as they do, I'll be having one. And I'm excited about the movie. I just hope that it ends up paying off. I will say it's not part of the Snyderverse. Geez, I'm forgetting everybody's name. What Snyder? The Snyder, the man, Mr. Snyder, who directed Batman versus Superman, who makes very gorgeous movies that don't make any sense. That's what Batman versus Superman was. It was a gorgeous movie to watch. I couldn't tell what the heck was going on. Is not involved in this one, so I'm hoping that means the story will actually make sense, which would be a plus. And going back to like The Dark Knight, which is probably the best Batman movie ever made, with Heath Ledger as Joker, it was great. So. All in all, it was a great trailer. I'm excited. I'm sure you all are just terribly shocked to find that out, and I'm looking forward to seeing what more we get from it. I'm sorry the movie's not coming out till next year. I hope I can wait that long, but so, anyways, I threw that out there because I was trying to think of some other current event, and I didn't want to do anything political, and I didn't feel like talking about the riots and get myself all bent out of shape because I knew the Loughlin thing was going to get me upset enough. But so I want to talk about something that makes me happy, and Batman punching bad guys always makes me happy. So there you go. All right, friends. I think I've hit my limit here tonight. Anybody got anything else? What's Amy saying here? Yes, a thumbs up on the video. Yes, please give me a thumbs up before you leave. That helps us in the YouTube search engine. So anybody else got anything I need to bring up here tonight? You guys enjoy this tonight? We have a good time. I hope you enjoyed. I'm working on getting my stuff ready for Sunday. I got a new sermon series that we're going to be starting here in a couple of weeks, and excited about that too. So I was working on that yesterday. And, so, all right, everybody. Well, I appreciate you all coming out tonight. It's good to, well, at least good to have you see me, I guess, since I can't see any of you. But I appreciate your time. You honor me by being here and sharing this time with me. So I appreciate it. I love you all very much. And y'all know what you need to go do now. Go wash those hands.